The water's freezing. But the math is simple. One harness, two passengers, a mechanical fail point. I clocked the second we hit the bird's nest above the Hudson. My husband, Adrian Sterling, is bleeding from a gash on his forehead. His hands, white-knuckling the cyclic stick, even though the damn thing is deader than the Bitcoin winter of 22. He's not looking at me. He's looking at the rescued diver treading water outside the shattered windscreen. And he's looking at her, Natalie Pierce, hanging off the skid like a wet cat, screaming like she's auditioning for a part in a disaster movie. Adrian, I say, my voice is steady, too steady. It's the voice I use for board meetings when the volatility spikes and the rookies start sweating. The harness. Now, he doesn't move. He's calculating. I know that look. It's the same look he had when he decided to pivot the company away from my core architecture toward Natalie's revolutionary biotech play. He's weighing the variables, my utility versus hers. Torai, don't look at me like that, he says. His voice cracks. Pathetic. It's just, Nat's research is breakthrough of the century material. If she dies, the cure for Alzheimer's dies with her. You understand, right? You've always been the reasonable one. I almost laugh. Almost. The sound would freeze in the sub-zero air anyway. I funded that research. Every NIH grant application he helped her with, I greased the wheels through 3 different packs. Every piece of equipment in her lab at Rockefeller, leased through a shell corp I own in Delaware. I am the reason Natalie Pierce has a career to lose. And now, apparently, I am the price of her survival. Adrian, I repeat, the math doesn't care about your guilt. Clip me in. He turns to the diver. He doesn't point to me. He points to Natalie. He actually points. Get her first. He screams over the rotor wash. She's got the future in her hands. The diver nods. Of course he does. Adrian Sterling is a brand. He's the golden boy of the Upper East Side. I'm just the wife in the background, the one who doesn't post on Instagram. I'm invisible. The diver reaches for Natalie. She wraps herself around him like he's her personal savior. As they connect the winch, she looks back at me. There's no fear in her eyes. There's triumph. The bitch is actually smiling. Adrian meets my gaze. He mouths the words. I'm sorry. I don't scream. I don't cry. I just close my eyes and start reciting IP addresses. The DNS servers for my private cloud in Reykjavik. The encryption keys for the Ethel Capital Ledger. The kill codes for the satellites I launched last year under a DBA. I calculate the exact PSI required to blow the emergency hatch. 14.7. Standard atmospheric pressure. I built these fail-safes into my own birds after the incident in 19. I never thought I'd need them for a ride over the Hudson. I trigger the beacon on my Apple Watch. The one Adrian doesn't know has a custom RF module I soldered myself. They pull Natalie up. The helicopter lists further. Water is up to my chest now. Cold, numbing, efficient. By the time the diver comes back for Adrian, I'm already sinking. I hear the splash as he hits the water. I hear the whir of the winch. And then I hear nothing but the static in my ears and the rhythmic thumping of my own heart. Thump, 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 like a server rack cooling its jets. I don't wait for a rescue. I find the seam of the door, brace my feet against the instrument panel, against the machine Adrian thought he owned, and I kick. Hard. The reinforced glass gives way with a pop that sounds like a champagne cork at a victory party. I swim. Not up. Out. Let them think I'm a victim. Let them think I'm weak. The current takes me toward the shore. By the time the FDNY boats are scanning the surface, I'm already wading through the mud near the meat-packing district. My $1,000 Brunello Cucinelli coat dragging in the silt. I walk. I don't run. I don't slip. My Louboutins are ruined, but my posture is perfect. I catch a cab on 14th. The driver eyes my soaked clothes but keeps his mouth shut when I flash him 100. Tribeca, I say. Not the penthouse. Not yet. I need to see the numbers before I face the man. My apartment in 56 Leonard is dark, minimalist. No photos of Adrian on the walls. Just clean lines and a view of the city that doesn't include his ego. I peel off the wet clothes, wrap myself in a cashmere robe, and pour a double Macallan. No ice. Ice waters it down. I don't need softening. I open my laptop. The screen glows a cool blue. No social media. No news alerts. Just the dashboard for Ethel Capital. Sterling Innovations is currently valued at $12. For billion, a nice round number. Built entirely on the back of my foundational patents. The Synapse algorithm. The neural lace interface. The quantum encryption protocols. All mine. All licensed to him under a handshake agreement 5 years ago when I thought love was a valid form of collateral. It's not. Love is a non-recourse loan in a bear market. It defaults when the leverage gets too high. My phone buzzes. A text from Adrian. Where are you? Nat's in shock. She needs space in the East Wing. We need to talk. I stare at the screen. Space in the East Wing. Meist Wing. The one I bought with my trust fund before we were married. The one I let him renovate because he said it would be a sanctuary for us. I type back. One word. No. The reply is instant. Don't start. Torai. Be the bigger person. Once she's back on her feet, everything goes back to normal. Normal. I laugh. It's a dry, hollow sound. Normal was him kissing me goodbye this morning while I was already logged into the Tokyo markets. Normal was him taking credit for my code at the TED Talk last month. Normal was him looking at me in that helicopter and choosing a lie over the truth. I dialed Julian Vance, my attorney. It's 11 p.m. He picks up on the first ring. He always does. Victoria, he says. His voice is smooth, like polished marble. I saw the news. Helicopter crash? Mechanical failure. I say, Adrian's fine. Natalie's fine. I'm fine. But the prenup needs to be activated. Tonight, I want the divorce papers drawn up. I want the forensic audit of Sterling Innovations initiated. I want him to feel the liquidity crunch before he finishes his first cup of coffee tomorrow. Aggressive. Julian notes. The prenup has a sunset clause. 5 years. You're 6 months past that. I know. I say. That's why I need you to find the breach of contract, the embezzlement, the fraud. Start with the RD budget. Follow the money to Natalie's lab. I want receipts. Consider it done. Anything else? Yes. File the injunction to freeze the marital assets. Use the immediate risk of dissipation clause. If he moves $1 to cover her legal fees, I want the whole house of cards to fall on his head. Cold. Julian says. There's a hint of approval in his tone. I'll have the courier deliver the papers to the penthouse by 8 a.m. Make it 7:30. I say, I want him to have time to read it before his board meeting. I hang up. I look at the dashboard again. The numbers are green, rising, while his world is sinking. Mine is compounding. I walk to the fireplace. I don't light it. I don't need the heat. I just watch the reflection of the flames in the glass, the ghost of a fire that isn't there. The door to the penthouse opens. I hear his footsteps. He's alone. No Natalie. Good. I don't want to waste energy on her yet. He walks into the living room. He looks tired, guilty. His hair is a mess. He smells like jet fuel and river water. Torai, he says. Jesus Christ. You're here. I thought. I didn't see you get pulled up. I was terrified. Liar. I saw the relief on his face when he realized Natalie was safe. I saw the calculation when he looked at the diver. We need to talk about what happened out there, he says, stepping closer. He reaches for my hand. I pull it back. Do we? I ask. My voice is flat. Nat's traumatized, he says, as if that explains everything. She needs space, in the East Wing, just for a few weeks, until she stabilizes. No, I say again. He sighs. That long-suffering sigh, he uses when he thinks I'm being difficult. Don't start. Torai, be the bigger person. Once she's back on her feet, everything goes back to normal. There is no normal anymore. Adrian, I say. I turn to face him fully. There is only the audit. He frowns. What audit? I nod toward the laptop on the desk. The screen is still glowing. He walks over, squinting. He sees the Ethel Capital logo. He sees the line items. He sees the ownership percentages. What is this? He asks. Some kind of joke? It's the balance sheet. I say. The real one. The one where you aren't the CEO. You're just a licensee. And the license? It's about to be revoked. He stares at the screen. I see the moment the realization hits. The color drains from his face. The golden boy just found out his gold is pyrite. He stammers. You can't do this. I built that company. I am that company. You're the face. Adrian. I say. I'm the equity. And I'm done being silent. I pick up the glass of Macallan. I take a sip. The burn is familiar. Necessary. The papers will be on your desk in the morning. I say. Sign them. Or I'll dismantle Natalie's lab brick by brick and donate the debris to MIT. And then I'll come for the patents. All of them. You'll be left with a name and a suit and absolutely nothing to fill them with. He looks at me like he's seeing me for the first time. Like he's realizing the woman he married isn't a quiet housewife, but a goddamn sovereign wealth fund in a cashmere robe. Torai, he whispers. Please. I shake my head. You made your choice in the water. Adrian, you chose the performance over the principle. Now, you get to live with the write down. I turn back to the fireplace. The reflection of the city lights dances in the glass. Behind me, I hear him sink into a chair. I hear him start to hyperventilate. I hear the sound of a man whose world just collapsed because he forgot to check who held the lien on his future. I don't look back. I don't need to. The numbers are on my side. The math is immutable. And in the end, the only thing that matters is the bottom line. And mine? It's just getting started. The boardroom at Sterling Tower smells like roasted coffee and cheap cologne. Adrian's standing at the head of the table, leaning on the glass like he owns the skyline. Behind him, the video wall is queued up, ready to pitch the series C round to the partners from Sequoia and Benchmark. Natalie's sitting 2 seats down, looking pale and tragic in a silk scarf that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She's playing the concussion card hard. I'm not there. I don't need to be. I'm watching the live stream from my office in Tribeca. Julian Vance sitting across from me, peeling the label off a bottle of San Pellegrino with his thumb. Adrian clears his throat. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. As you know, Sterling Innovations is on the verge of a paradigm shift. With Dr. Pierce's Neuralace breakthrough, his phone buzzes on the table, then the CFO's phone, then the general counsel's. Within 10 seconds, it sounds like a swarm of pager beetles from the dot-com era. The lead partner from Sequoia, a guy named Mark Jensen, who looks like he hasn't slept since the interest rate hike, holds up a hand. Adrian, hold that thought. My legal team just forwarded me a cease and desist from a firm called Ethel Capital. They claim they own the IP for the Synapse algorithm. They're filing a preliminary injunction to freeze all operating capital. Adrian laughs. It's a sharp, brittle sound. It's a mistake. Or a bluff. Never heard of them. Probably some patent troll trying to shake us down before the close. A bluff? Mark leans forward, tapping his tablet. They've already filed with the Southern District. They've attached a forensic accounting report that shows every line of code in our proprietary stack traces back to a licensing agreement dated 5 years ago. An agreement with Victoria Sterling? The room goes dead silent. You could hear a pin drop, or maybe the sound of Adrian's ego deflating. Torai? Adrian scoffs, but I can hear the sweat in his voice through the speakers. That's impossible. She's not technical. She's a homemaker. She doesn't understand the business. The business understands her. Apparently, Mark says coldly. According to this, she holds the master license, and the agreement has a non-transferable clause. You can't raise another round without her signature, Adrian, which, according to this injunction, she's not giving. Natalie pipes up, her voice trembling. Adrian, tell them it's not true. Tell them she's just upset about the accident. She's being emotional. I lean toward the mic on my desk. Julian shakes his head, a small smile on his lips. Let him hang himself. He whispers. Back in the boardroom, Adrian is scrambling. Look, I'll handle Victoria. She's my wife. We're working through some things. But this deal is bigger than a domestic dispute. We have momentum. We have Natalie's research, which is also listed here as being funded by Ethel Capital. The general counsel interrupts, his face gray. Adrian, if this is true, we're looking at securities fraud. We took these patents as collateral for the bridge loan. If they aren't ours, they are ours. Adrian slams his fist on the table. I built this company. I pitched the vision. You pitched the vision. I say, hitting the mute button off. My voice cuts through the boardroom speakers like a blade. You didn't write the code. Adrian, you didn't design the architecture. You just sold the sizzle while I cooked the steak. The camera swings wildly, trying to find the source of the voice. Adrian stares at the speakerphone like it's a snake. Torai? Torai? Is that you? Baby, please, we can talk about this. Turn off the injunction. Let's not ruin everything we've built. Everything you built? I ask. Check the timestamp on the Synapse patent. Adrian, check the wallet address that minted the original NFT of the codebase. It's a cold wallet tied to a Cayman entity I set up in 2018. You've been using my technology like it was yours. You've been spending my money like it was yours. And now, you're using my name to cover your lies. Mark, Adrian pleads. Ignoring me now. Mark, don't do this. We've been partners for 3 years. You know my track record. Victoria is she's confused. She's been through a trauma. The only trauma here is the gap in your valuation. Mark says, standing up. He starts packing his briefcase. I'm not touching this until I see a release from Ethel Capital, and neither is anyone else on this call. One by one, the investors log off. The screen goes dark. Adrian is left standing in an empty boardroom with Natalie and a handful of terrified executives. He grabs the phone. Torai, you vindictive bitch. Do you have any idea what you just did? You killed the company. You killed our future. Our future ended when you pointed at Natalie instead of me. I say calmly, now, you're just dealing with the present, and the present is very expensive. I'll fight this. He snarls. I'll hire the best litigators in the city. I'll bury you in discovery. You don't know the law like I do. I know the law better than your entire legal team combined. I interrupt, because I wrote the licensing agreements they're currently crying over. And Julian, he's already filed the motion to compel arbitration in Zurich. Good luck finding a judge in New York who wants to tangle with Swiss private equity law at 4 a.m. I nod to Julian. He hits a button on his laptop. On the screen in front of us, we watch Adrian's face go from red to white as his phone starts blowing up again. This time, it's his private banker. Mr. Sterling, we're showing a freeze order on all accounts linked to Sterling Innovations. We're unable to process payroll. We're also showing a margin call on your personal brokerage account. If you don't post collateral by noon, we'll be forced to liquidate your position in. Adrian hangs up. He's breathing hard, his chest heaving. Natalie reaches for his arm. Adrian, what's happening? My research grants. Shut up, Nat. He hisses. He turns back to the phone. Torai, please, just unfreeze the accounts. We'll miss payroll. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs. Is that what you want? To be responsible for that? I'm not responsible for your mismanagement. I say, the employees will get paid through the receivership. Your CFO has my contact info. I'll wire the funds directly to them to keep the lights on. But you, Adrian, you're not getting another cent. Not for the company. And definitely not for Natalie's vanity lab. You're a monster. He whispers. No. I say, I'm a creditor. And you're in default. Sign the papers. Adrian, sign them. And I'll let you walk away with your watch and your pride. Don't sign them. And I'll strip you down to the bone. Your choice. I hang up before he can reply. Julian looks at me over the rim of his glasses. Aggressive move. Freezing the accounts before the hearing. The judge might not like the optics. The judge doesn't need to like the optics. I say, he needs to enforce the contract. And the contract is clear. Unauthorized use of licensed IP triggers, an automatic acceleration of all debts, and a full asset freeze. I'm not playing by his rules anymore. Julian, I'm playing by mine. My phone buzzes. A text from the courier service. Package delivered to Sterling Tower. 7:32 a.m. Right on schedule. Let's go. I say, standing up. I want to see his face when he reads page 4. Julian raises an eyebrow. Page 4? The forensic report on Natalie's Alzheimer's research. I say, smoothing down my lapel. The part where it proves she plagiarized the entire data set from a paper I published under a pseudonym in the Swiss Medical Journal last year. I want him to realize that the woman he chose over me isn't just a liar. She's a thief, and he's been sleeping with a ghost. I walk toward the elevator. The doors slide open. I step inside, watching the numbers climb. Floor 60, floor 70, floor 80. When the doors open at the penthouse, he's there. The divorce papers are scattered at his feet. He's holding page 4 in his shaking hand. Torai, he says, his voice broken. This says Natalie's work it's yours? It always was. I say, walking past him like he's furniture, just like everything else. Welcome to the write-down. Adrian, hope you can afford the interest on your new reality. I don't look back as I walk into the bedroom. I close the door. I can hear him screaming, but the sound is muffled, distant, like a bad connection on a satellite phone. I sit on the edge of the bed. I look at the ring on my finger, the one he gave me, the one that's now just another piece of collateral in a debt he can never repay. I take it off. I set it on the nightstand. Tomorrow, I'll be Victoria Sterling, CEO of Ethel Capital. Today, I'm just a woman who finally did the math. And the math? It adds up perfectly. The Met Gala after party is a meat market for people who use the word synergy, unironically. I'm not here for the canapes or the photo op. I'm here because Natalie Pierce sent me a screenshot of her guest list an hour ago with a single line. Enjoying the view from the VIP balcony. Shame you weren't invited. I walk past the velvet rope without breaking stride. The bouncer knows my face. I underwrote the museum's new wing last quarter. Inside, the noise is a dull roar of champagne flutes and fragile egos. I find her in the Greek and Roman sculpture court, draped over a marble sarcophagus like she's auditioning for a role as a tragic heroine in a B-list period drama. Adrian is hovering nearby, looking like a kicked dog in a Tom Ford tux. Natalie spots me first. She smiles, slow and syrupy, like she's savoring the moment. She detaches herself from the sculpture and glides over, her Valentino gown whispering against the polished floor. Victoria, she purrs. I'm surprised they let you in without a +1 or a press pass. She glances at my empty hands. No champagne? Still coping with the, trauma off the Hudson? I heard hypothermia can cause memory loss. Maybe that's why you're so confused about who owns what. I don't bother with pleasantries. You're confusing trauma with due diligence. Natalie, and I'm not confused. I'm just thorough. How's the FDA investigation into your lab's data integrity going? By the way, I heard they're particularly interested in the source code for your neural lace prototype, the one that bears a striking resemblance to a 2019 white paper published by someone using the handle architect_01. Her smile twitches, just a millimeter. I don't know what you're talking about. My research is original. Adrian believes in me. Adrian believes what's convenient. I say, keeping my voice low enough that only she and the nearby sculptures can hear. Right now, it's convenient for him to believe you're a genius, because admitting he backed a fraud would mean admitting he's not the visionary he claims to be. It's a symbiotic relationship built on a shared delusion. Adrian steps between us, his jaw tight. That's enough. Torai, you're making a scene. Have some class. Class? I glance at his tuxedo. You're wearing a rental. Adrian, I checked the tags this morning. Page 6 of the forensic report detailed how you pledged your personal effects to cover Natalie's outstanding legal retainers. You're not a billionaire anymore. You're just a man in borrowed clothes. Natalie's eyes narrow. You're just bitter because Adrian chose me. He chose brilliance over whatever it is you do. Sitting in the dark, playing with numbers. I'm changing the world. You're changing the definition of plagiarism. I counter. And Adrian, he didn't choose brilliance. He chose a mirror. You reflect back the image he wants to see of himself. It's pathetic. Really. He needs you to be a genius so he can feel like a kingmaker. But a kingmaker without a kingdom is just a guy with a shovel. Shut up. Adrian hisses. You don't know what you're talking about. I built Sterling Innovations. You licensed my patents. I cut him off. You used my capital. You took credit for my architecture. And when the helicopter went down, you proved you don't even have the spine to protect your own investment. You threw me to the sharks to save a liability. That's not leadership. Adrian, that's liquidation. A few nearby guests, a hedge fund manager from Citadel and a tech reporter from the Journal, stop pretending not to listen. Natalie notices. Her face flushes a deep, ugly red. You're a liar. She spits. Adrian, tell her she's lying about the patents. Adrian looks at me, then at her, then at the growing crowd. He's calculating again. Only this time, the variables are his reputation and his bank account. Torai, the prenup, if you just unfreeze the accounts. We can talk. We can fix this. For the company. For the employees. The employees will be paid. I say, I wired the funds this afternoon. They'll get their severance and their bonuses. But you'll get nothing. Because you're not an employee. Adrian, you're not a partner. You're a failed experiment in poor judgment. I turn to Natalie. As for you, Dr. Pierce, enjoy your evening. It's likely the last one you'll spend in polite company. The SEC subpoena for your lab records hits your lawyer's desk at 9 a.m., and the New England Journal of Medicine has already received a retraction request for your breakthrough paper, signed by me. I pull out my phone, tap a screen, and turn it toward her. It's a notification from my legal team. Injunction granted. Asset freeze expanded to include all personal holdings of Adrian Sterling and Natalie Pierce. Natalie's breath catches. She looks at Adrian, panic in her eyes. Adrian, what is this? Our accounts, they're frozen? My research grants. I told you. I say softly. The valuation gap. You're not worth the paper your patents are printed on. And neither is he. Adrian reaches for my arm. Desperation replacing arrogance. Torai, please, don't do this to me. To us. We have history. We have a divorce decree waiting for your signature. I say, shaking him off. And a court date in Zurich. Sign the papers. Adrian, sign them. And I'll let you keep the rental tux. Don't sign them. And I'll have you escorted out of here by security. And trust me, the Post will love that photo op. I nod to a pair of museum security guards standing by the velvet rope. They step forward, their eyes on Adrian. He pales, his hand dropping to his side. He looks at Natalie, then back at me, his expression a mixture of hatred and raw terror. "You'll regret this," he whispers. "I regretted marrying you the moment you pointed at Natalie in that helicopter." I reply, This is just the paperwork catching up to the reality." I walk away, the click of my heels echoing in the sudden silence. I don't look back. I don't need to. I can feel their stares, the weight of 1,000 unspoken judgments. But none of it matters. The only thing that matters is the number on my screen, the quiet hum of the servers in Tribeca, and the knowledge that the game is finally, irrevocably, mine. As I reach the exit, my phone buzzes. A text from Julian. Injunctions served. Accounts frozen. Sterling Innovations stock just halted trading. Preliminary hearing set for Monday. Also, the Timesys asking for comment on the architect_01 revelations. I smile. The first real smile in days. Tell them, I type back, that the architect has returned to reclaim her blueprints. The doors swing open to the cool night air. The city sprawls before me, a grid of light and opportunity. Somewhere in that grid, Adrian Sterling is realizing he's not the king of his castle. He's just a squatter in a building he never owned. And me? I'm not just Victoria Sterling anymore. I'm the silent equity, the one who holds the pen, the one who writes the ending. An ending? It's looking very profitable. The Moscone Center smells like ozone, desperation, and Axe body spray. Adrian's keynote is supposed to start in 12 minutes. Backstage, it's a madhouse. PR girls are hyperventilating into their headsets. The AV tech is swearing at a flickering teleprompter. And Adrian, he's in the green room, screaming at a junior associate from Goldman about why his brokerage accounts still show a zero balance. I walk past the authorized personnel, only sign like it's a suggestion. My heels click on the concrete. A burly security guard steps into my path, his hand hovering near his earpiece. "No, you can't be." "I can," I say, flashing the ID badge I had Julian's assistant courier in an hour ago. It reads, Victoria Sterling, Chief Architect Chair, Ethel Capital. The guard's eyes widen. He's heard the rumors. He steps aside. I push open the door to the green room. Adrian is in his shirt sleeves, tie loosened, sweat staining the collar. Natalie is beside him, frantically scrolling through her phone, her face drained of color. "You." Adrian snarls when he sees me. He lunges, but a Secret Service agent, hired by my new security detail, steps smoothly between us. "You bitch. You froze my accounts. You killed the Series C. Do you have any idea what you've done to my valuation?" "Your valuation was a rounding error in my daily PL," I say, leaning against the doorframe. "But yes, I have a general idea. I've done the math." Natalie thrusts her phone at him, her voice cracking. "Adrian, look at TechCrunch. They're saying Ethel Capital is moving to delist Sterling Innovations from the NASDAQ. They're calling it a hostile takeover." "Hostile?" I correct, pushing off the doorframe. "No, it's a corrective acquisition. Your shares are worthless." "Adrian, the Class A voting rights I hold through Ethel triggered the poison pill the second you tried to move assets to cover Natalie's legal fees. You don't own the company. You don't own the IP. You don't even own the suit you're standing in. I checked the lease agreement on the tuxedo this morning." A knock on the door. A harried event organizer pokes his head in. "Mr. Sterling, we need you on stage in 5. The crowd is getting restless. Mr. Andreessen is in the front row." Adrian looks at me, then at the organizer, then back at me. There's a flicker of the old arrogance, the one that thinks a charming smile can fix a liquidity crisis. "Fine, I'll go out there. I'll tell them this is a misunderstanding. I'll tell them you're just emotional, that we're working it out. You'll tell them the truth," I say, plucking the keynote clicker from his limp hand. "Or I will." I turn and walk toward the stage entrance. The house lights are down. 20,000 faces are staring up at the giant LED screen. The murmur of the crowd is a physical wave. I hear Adrian stumbling behind me, yelling something about my speech, but the security detail forms a wall, blocking his path. I step into the pool of light. The teleprompter is still cued to Adrian's script. The future is built on vision. I tap the microphone. Feedback screeches, then settles. The crowd quiets. 1,000 phones rise. Recording. Good morning. I say. My voice is flat, clear, devoid of the tremor most people get in front of this many eyes. For years, the tech industry has celebrated the visionary, the man who stands on stages like this and points at the sky. We applaud the charisma, the bold claims, the move fast and break things ethos. But nobody talks about the architect, the person who pours the concrete, the one who actually writes the code that doesn't break. I pause. I can see Adrian being restrained in the wings, his face purple. Natalie is nowhere to be seen. My name is Victoria Sterling, and I am the architect of the Synapse algorithm, the neural lace interface, the quantum encryption protocols that power 70% of the AI infrastructure you all use every day. For 5 years, I allowed my work to be licensed under the name Sterling Innovations. I did this quietly, preferring to focus on the mathematics rather than the marketing. A ripple goes through the audience. Someone gasps. A reporter from Wired drops her pen. Today, that changes, effective immediately. Sterling Innovations is a wholly owned subsidiary of Ethel Capital. The visionary you came to see today, Adrian Sterling, is no longer affiliated with the company. His shares have been diluted to zero following a unanimous vote by the Class A shareholders, of which I am the sole holder. Furthermore, the breakthrough research touted by Dr. Natalie Pierce has been formally retracted by the New England Journal of Medicine following a comprehensive audit that traced her findings back to a white paper I published under a pseudonym in 2019. I click the remote. The screen behind me shifts from the Sterling Innovations logo to the sleek, minimalist emblem of Ethel Labs. This isn't a pivot, it's a correction. Ethel Labs will continue the work that was stalled by mismanagement, ego, and academic fraud. We will be open sourcing the foundational layers of the Synapse algorithm within the week. Innovation shouldn't be held hostage by men who mistake confidence for competence. It belongs to those who build it. I look toward the wings. Adrian has stopped struggling. He's just staring, his mouth agape. To the employees of Sterling Innovations, your jobs are secure. Your salaries will be paid in full, on time, from an escrow account I established this morning. To the investors, your concerns regarding IP integrity have been addressed. To the press, no, this isn't a publicity stunt. It's a hostile takeover of a company that forgot who signed the paychecks. I turn off the clicker. The stage lights feel warm. The silence is absolute. Thank you, I say, and walk off the stage. Backstage is chaos. Adrian is slumped against a crate, his head in his hands. Natalie is on the phone with someone, her voice a frantic whisper. I don't stop. I walk past them, past the stunned organizers, past the security detail. Julian Vance is waiting by the service elevator, holding a tablet. Well, he says, glancing at the screen. Ethel Labs is trending in 60 countries, and Sterling Innovation stock just hit a hard stop on the NYSE. The SEC is already calling. Let them call. I say, stepping into the elevator. Schedule a press conference for 4 p.m. I want to announce the Ethel Foundation. Focus on STEM education for girls. Something sustainable. The elevator doors close. Julian looks at me, a rare hint of something like respect in his eyes. You didn't just take the company, Victoria. You erased him. Revenge is emotional. Julian, I say, watching the floor numbers tick upward. It's expensive and messy. I'm not interested in making him suffer. I'm interested in making him irrelevant. There's a difference. Suffering implies he matters. Irrelevance means he doesn't. The elevator opens to the roof. A black car is waiting. The driver holds the door. I slide into the leather seat. The city sprawling below me in a grid of light. Home, Ms. Sterling? The driver asks. No, I say, pulling out my phone. I scroll past the hundreds of notifications, the threats, the pleas, the job offers. I find the one I'm looking for. A text from an unknown number. Probably a burner. You've become a monster. It reads, I hope you're happy. I delete it. I lean back against the headrest. Happiness is a fleeting chemical reaction. I think control is a renewable resource. And legacy? That's the only currency that doesn't inflate. I look out the window as the car pulls into traffic. The Moscone Center shrinks in the distance. Somewhere inside, Adrian Sterling is realizing his keynote was a eulogy. And me? I'm just getting started. To the office. I tell the driver, I have a world to rebuild. 6 months. 182 days since the Moscone Center. Long enough for the SEC to finish its inquiry. For the Timesto run, its 20-part expose. And for the whispers about Adrian Sterling to die down into awkward silence. I'm in my office at Ethel Capital, 56 Leonard. The view is the same, gridlock downtown. The silver slash of the Hudson, the distant hum of LaGuardia. But the air tastes different, cleaner. No cologne masking bad decisions. No tension vibrating off the walls. Just the low hum of redundant power supplies and the occasional ping of a confirmed wire transfer. Julian Vance is in the armchair across from me, polishing his glasses with a monogrammed cloth. He looks pleased with himself. He usually does when the quarterly reports hit the wire. Forbes is running the cover story tomorrow, he says, sliding a mock-up across the desk. Victoria Sterling, the $48 billion architect of the future. The photo is stark, me in a charcoal suit. No duelli, no smile, just eyes that have done the math. They want a quote. I say, not looking at the magazine. Tell them, valuation is a lagging indicator of execution. Already did. Julian smirks. They loved it. Also, the SEC finalized the clawback on Adrian's vested options. He's officially underwater on his margin loans. His townhouse in the Hamptons is heading to auction next week. I nod. The news doesn't spark joy. It sparks efficiency. One less loose end. And Natalie? Moved to Malta. Changed her name. Last I heard. She's consulting for a crypto startup that's about to be indicted for wire fraud. Poetic. Really. He pauses. Adrian's outside. He's been turned away twice. But he's still standing by the fountain. Looks like he's selling his Rolex to a pawn shop on Canal. I sigh. The performance is over. The encore is tedious. Send him up. But tell security he gets 5 minutes. And if he tries to touch me, press charges. Julian makes the call. 2 minutes later, the elevator chimes. Adrian steps out. And for a second, I don't recognize him. The hair is longer. Greasy. The suit is off-the-rack polyester, shiny at the elbows. He's carrying a beat-up leather messenger bag that looks like it's seen 3 winters on the Bowery. He stops in front of my desk. He doesn't sit. He's shaking. Torai, he whispers. His voice is raspy, like he's been chain-smoking Marlboros in a studio apartment. Please, just hear me out. I lean back, steepling my fingers. You have 4 minutes. He looks around the office, like he's expecting a trap. I've lost everything. The company, the penthouse, the reputation. Even Natalie, she cleaned out what was left of my checking account and left. I'm staying in an SRO hotel near Penn Station. I'm selling my watch to pay for coffee. A tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. I say, my tone flat, but a predictable one. You built your life on leverage you didn't understand. Now the margin call came due. I'll do anything. He pleads, taking a step closer. Janitorial work. Data entry. I can't live like this. in the cold, knowing I lost you, knowing I lost everything. You didn't lose me, Adrian. I divested, and you didn't lose everything. You lost my everything. There's a distinction. I open a drawer, pull out a thin folder, and toss it on the desk. Your final settlement. I'm granting you a one-time liquidity event. $50,000, tax-free, in exchange for a permanent gag order and a waiver of all future claims against Ethel or me. He stares at the folder like it's a venomous snake. 50,000? That's nothing. That's pocket change for you. I built a billion-dollar company. You licensed a trillion-dollar architecture and ran it into the ground. I correct. And 50,000 is more than you deserve. It's a mercy buyout. Take it, and you can rent a studio in Queens and pretend you were never the face of a company you didn't own. Refuse it, and I'll ensure every venture capitalist in the tri-state area knows your name is toxic. You'll be lucky to get a job managing a blockbuster, if those still existed. He sinks into the chair Julian vacated, his head in his hands. You've become a monster. Torai, you used to be kind. You used to care about people. I used to subsidize your incompetence. I say, kindness is a currency best spent on the deserving. Adrian, you spent yours when you chose her over me in that water. You spent the rest when you stood on that stage in San Francisco and lied to 20,000 people about who built the future. He looks up, tears streaking his cheeks. Is this what you wanted? To watch me beg? No, I say, standing up. I walk around the desk, stopping a few feet from him. I don't offer a handkerchief. I don't offer comfort. I wanted partner. I got a parasite. This is just the cleanup. The write-off. The moment I stop thinking about you entirely. I walk to the window, turning my back on him. The city is a circuit board of light. Take the money. Adrian, sign the papers. Walk out that door. And don't look back. Because if I ever see your face again, I'll treat it like a bug in my code. I'll delete it. I hear the rustle of paper, the scrape of a chair, the heavy, defeated footsteps toward the elevator, the chime as the doors open. A long pause. Then, just before the doors close, his voice, barely audible. I'm sorry. Torai. I don't turn around. I don't respond. The doors slide shut with a soft thud. The silence that follows is absolute. Julian reappears, leaning against the doorframe. He signed, took the check. Security is escorting him out. Good, I say, still looking at the skyline. Run a background check on the new CTO for Ethel Labs. I want his GitHub history, his academic transcripts, and a psychological evaluation on my desk by Monday. No more visionaries. I want builders. Already done, Julian says. Also, the journal's asking for an interview about the Ethel Foundation's new STEM initiative. They want to frame it as your philanthropic awakening. I turn. Finally, I look at Julian, at the city, at the empire I built from the bones of a marriage I burned for fuel. Tell them it's not philanthropy. It's an investment in human capital, and I expect a 10x return. I walk back to my desk, sit down, and open my laptop. The screen fills with code, clean, elegant, mine. I start typing. The rhythm is hypnotic. The world outside is noise. The world inside the machine is pure logic. Julian lingers. Victoria, are you happy? I pause. I look at the cursor blinking on the screen. Happy. Such a small word for such a complex variable. Happiness is a fleeting chemical reaction. I say, resuming my typing. I'm looking for something more sustainable. Control. Legacy. The knowledge that the next time a helicopter goes down, I'm the one holding the winch. I glance up at him. And love, Julian? He raises an eyebrow. Love is an equity stake. I say, my fingers flying over the keys. If the other party dilutes your shares, you divest. I've divested. Now, I'm taking the company public. I turn back to the screen, the blue light illuminating my face. No ring, no attachments, just the quiet, absolute power of being the only name on the deed, the silent equity, the architect, the future. Close the door on your way out. I say. The door clicks shut. The hum of the servers fills the room. I type the last line of code, hit enter, and watch the program compile. Perfect. Immutable. Mine. Outside, the city breathes. Inside, there is only the math. And the math? It always balances.